reached.
Yes, yes, we are definitely, yeah, I guess I have not paid for the 300 participant subscription. So it is definitely being recorded. This meeting is being recorded and it will be posted for everyone. So we will have it out there. Okay, thank you for asking that question. So again, I understand some of you have not been able to reach us. So please send me an email if you aren't able to get through or you aren't getting our messages through School Messenger. As of today, the Aries Parent Portal did open for registration. That is where you update all of your student information, your emergency contact information, and that needs to be done annually. School Mint is new. School Mint is really the registration process. It's where all the school and district forms and documents are either uploaded or where you're going to add that information. We used to have a district process for adding that information, a district form, and it was kind of complicated. And then you'd come to school and you'd walk around the walkthrough registration and verify that everything had been turned in. Now you're able to really do all of those required mandatory school forms through School Mint. And so that's why we don't need to have a walkthrough registration for you to turn in all of those paperwork forms. School Mint, I believe, is just opening up tonight. So I know some of you are trying to get on earlier, but please make sure you check your emails, and we are all learning about how to utilize School Mint, but as information is uploaded, we're able to determine how close you are to completing your registration process. So our school secretary is Mrs. Disher, and what she will do is each day she's going to monitor the School Mint program and determine if she needs to follow up with you to complete any part of the registration process. And if so, she will either contact you by phone or send you an email. Anna, you had a question? You can go ahead and mute yourself.
Hi, a lot of parents are trying to log in, but they cannot log in to this group.
Yes, we have apparently reached our max of 100 participants, so that may be something we have to work through with PTA to see if we can expand our access here on Zoom, but it is being recorded, so we will have this meeting available for other families, and they will be able to listen to it after the fact.
Okay,
So
I'll let them know.
Yeah, if you have two family members from the same family on this, maybe sit at one computer, join it together, and that'll open up a couple other spots for other folks. But otherwise, it is absolutely being recorded so that everybody will still be able to get the information. Thank you.
Okay, so it'll be uploaded on the school website?
Yes, I will upload it on the school website, and I will also send out an email message to let everybody have access to the link.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm sorry we only have, I didn't realize we had the access to 100 participants for this. So again, we will work on addressing that for future school-wide Zoom meetings, because I definitely want to make sure everybody has access who wants to. So Thank you so much, Anne. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so again, as you're working through School Mint, if you have any questions, you can give Mrs. Disher a call. Again, she will be monitoring and letting you know as your registration process. She'll send you an email that everything is complete. And once you are completely registered, that will allow us to place you in a classroom. So again, please make sure you are just following through with that process. And if something you're not quite sure what to do, just give us a call and we'll do our best to help walk you through it. A next big date that's coming up is going to be next Wednesday, August the 12th. And we're doing kind of a drive-through PTA registration, as well as an opportunity for us to have our first Chromebook pickup. It's very exciting this year. The district is providing one-to-one correspondence of Chromebooks available for every student in the district. And so we're going to have Chromebooks for every student to check out. As a family, you may decide you want to opt out. Maybe you have your own computers at home that you would like your child to use. But what we were finding last spring as we moved into distance instruction is that some families were using phones or iPads, and that really won't be sufficient to complete the type of instruction we are doing this school year. So we want to make sure every student has access to a Chromebook so they can be truly successful in all the academic activities. So yay, that's right, everybody's going to get one. So I will talk a little bit more about the process for picking those up. And if you had a Chromebook from last year, that will be a perfect time for you to bring the old Chromebook, drop it off, and then we will check you off, and then we'll reissue the new ones that are coming out. So this is really good news. This will also be a time, let's see, we got a question. Do incoming kindergartners who already did in-person registration back in the spring? Okay, so there's that's a very good question. What happened in the spring was enrollment. So everybody who, so if you are brand new to the school, either as a kindergartner or a new family to Castro Valley, you did enrollment, but registration is done annually. And so that is done every August. So every family will go through the registration process, because that basically allows you to update any information, phone number changes, email changes, there may be health needs or changes that you want to make the school aware of. You may have new emergency contacts that you want to add. So that's the difference. Enrollment is just getting your child a spot in the school, and then registration is just verifying your student information on an annual basis. Okay. Yes, Chromebooks are going to be available for all of our students. So it's going to be K through 5. Every student will have access to get a Chromebook. And we'll be teaching you how to use the Chromebooks if you're not familiar, and the whole Google suite, because that's where most of the work is going to be based out of. So we'll be helping you with that. But again, just bring your attention to August 12th. We're going to do the Chromebook pickups. And also we'll have the PTA drive-through registration. So families who last spring pre-ordered school supply kits or pre-ordered Jaguarware, and there are still opportunities to order Jaguarware right now. It was sent out in the email or the newsletter that came out last night. The link is there. If you want to join PTA, which I encourage you to be a member of our Jensen PTA, they do amazing things for our students and staff, and they are great community builders. And also if you'd like to make a donation to PTA. And as we get going in the year, we will be having a PTA meetings, and they'll be able to explain more about what's happening. But just for example, last year our PTA funded buying little mini dock cameras for our teachers as we moved into distance instruction. And that was really vital in allowing our teachers to work remotely away from school. They also provide special programs, co-curricular programs at our school, and they're also going to be continuing to do that this year as well for all students. So even though we're not going to be in a brick and mortar school this school year, our PTA is still going to be doing really wonderful things for our students. So your membership and donations will still be needed, and will help our teachers and our classrooms continue operating at the high standard that we've set. On August 13th, that is our official first day of school, and yes, it is virtual instruction. It is an 8 a.m. start time every day for all of our elementary schools. So just, I know it's kind of seems early, but it just gets everybody out of bed, have your breakfast, people will comb through the hair, and be ready to start virtual instruction at 8 a.m. No later than August 12th, once we're able to get all our class assignments set, the teacher, your child's teacher, will reach out and make contact and let you know exactly the process and the login process for connecting on that very first day of school. So you're used to dropping off your child at school and dropping them off at the door, saying hello to the teacher, leaving those backpacks, and the new process will be we will reach out at least a day ahead of time, and the teacher will let you know how school will start. So please kind of keep an eye out for that information through your emails. Which brings another point. I just want to I don't mean to kind of be on a tangent, but when it comes to emails, please make sure whatever preferred emails of communication you have with the teacher are what you update in Aries Parent Portal. That is what your teachers have access to, and it gets challenging for them if we have additional emails that parents then want to add on. So please make sure whatever email contact you want for the school year is what you're putting in Aries. because that is the information we're pulling as a school to reach out and contact you, and we want to make sure it's correct. We are going to be having a virtual back to school night. Obviously, we can't do it in person, and I'm working with the teachers to try to determine the best format to do it. What will likely happen is each grade level will record videos, different content areas to cover the math, the language arts, science to cover science, PE, and we will have then just links that we will be able to push out to you, one link, and that for all the grades, and then you'll be able to go and view all the relevant grades that you're interested in for a virtual back to school night. So that's kind of what we're thinking. We have not yet quite set a date just because there's been so much going on just to get the school year started. We wanted to focus on making sure the first couple of days were set. But that is going to come, and that will provide you a lot more specific information from your classroom teachers. Okay, general information again, just please make sure you check our Jensen Ranch Roundup is our weekly newsletter, and it's our primary source of communication with our families. It typically will come out on a Sunday evening. There are sometimes we have Sundays that are part of a long holiday, you know, we're out for a couple days, a couple weeks, and so it may not be every Sunday, but I will definitely communicate to you when not to expect it. And otherwise you would be expecting it during the school year to come out on a Sunday evening. The Jensen Ranch Roundup, we try to make it packed full of relevant and useful information, not only from myself, but also from our PTA. And just general updates, calendar updates, things you need to know, events and activities that are taking place, and it's also a place where we try to celebrate with our families if they're, you know, positive and exciting things that are going on. Other sources of communication, we do have our Jensen Ranch webpage. So again, especially if you're new to Jensen, I encourage you to join the Jensen Ranch webpage. Yes, PTA has they have a Facebook page. I have a Facebook page, which is at Lisa McLean Principal. So I would love to have you join there. That's a really quick place I can just pop some information out to you quickly. And then we also have our Jensen Ranch Twitter feed at Jensen Jaguar. So again, we've got multiple ways to get the information out to everyone. But this information that we're sending out for Jensen, we will also provide relevant updates that are going to be connected to Castro Valley Virtual Academy as well. Let's see, is the first day of school at 8 a.m. the same for both regular? Yes, so all the elementary programs, both for Jensen and for CVVPE, the Castro Valley Virtual Program for Elementary, all will have an 8 a.m. start. So good question. Okay, so this is coming back to that Wednesday, August 12th registration date. If you were here last year, you're kind of familiar with, we had scheduled times for families to come through, either to drop off materials, pick up materials, and it helps just because we are trying to make sure that we are keeping everybody safe, able to maintain social distancing, and avoid creating traffic issues out on the streets in front of our school. So we do ask as much as possible that people try to follow the scheduled times that we have. So when looking at the schedule, you'll see the first time on Wednesday is an 8:30 a.m. to 9:15 block of time, 45 minutes. And the last name range that it goes is from Abalos to Cheng. That means Abalos to Cheng, and every name in between are the families that come during that time. And that way, if you have a kindergartner or a fifth grader or several in between, you as a family are hopefully coming all at the same time so that you can just make one stop drop to come by Jensen. So we have 45 blocks of time during the day. For the time at the very end of the day from 3 to 4 o'clock, we don't have as many families assigned, and so that is a really good open time at the end of the day if you can't make it at other times to come by then. I will also make available sometimes probably early in the afternoon on August 13th and 14th for families who did not come by and pick up a Chromebook and have not opted out to come by and pick them up. So I will be sending that information out on August 12th. But again, we really are going to encourage people to hopefully come by on on the 12th itself to pick up everything that they need to pick up. And again, this drive-through registration will be set up if you looked at the newsletter from last night. When you come through our drive-through area, you'll have a spot first to drop off an old Chromebook, then you'll have a spot to pick up the new Chromebook, then you'll pick up the school kits, you'll have a location to drop off any PTA forms, and then right before you exit back onto the street, you will have a spot, if you've pre-purchased Jensen ranchware, there'll be a spot to pick it up there as well. And I will remind everybody about this in next week's Roundup. Yes, I'm going to talk a little bit more about what the distance learning plan will look like, and we'll be getting to that about what it's going to look like and how it will be different from last school year. The PTA did a little shout out for new parents. Just any parents who want to meet other parents, definitely contact the PTA. They are trying to facilitate that. Okay, well, we're going to kind of jump into more of the distance learning portion of the meeting. And I know this is where a lot of the nuts and bolt questions are that you have and what you're wanting to learn. So just keeping in mind some just basic terminology, when we hear the term virtual learning, that's anything that students are doing online. And when we have the term distance learning, that's anything away from school. So it could be virtual learning, or it could be non-virtual, but it's anything, so that could be paper pencil or it could be online, but distance learning is anything that's not done here on our school campus. Hybrid, that means some school learning some is in school and some is virtual learning. That is what we are hoping to be able to get to at some point this school year with the main option. And again, we don't know when that will be, and I can talk a little bit more about that, but right now we are just going to be doing virtual learning, and it's going to be virtual, and also there'll be some paper pencil work that'll take place as well, but it'll all be done away from the school campus. The next two terms are terms that are kind of new, and so, but our teachers will be using it, and it's definitely something our teachers are going to be using with our students. We have what's called a synchronous time and asynchronous time. And the synchronous time, that is live, that is real time. That is when your child is meeting with the classroom teacher. It might be meeting with a classroom specialist or a paraprofessional, but that is in-person time. So synchronous meaning one-to-one live, or in a whole group, they're doing it, it's done in real time. Asynchronous is done independently at your child's own pace. So it could be watching pre-recorded videos. They may have assignments. It could be actually, doing paper to pencil activities for those students who are doing the virtual academy. Pathblazer is the curriculum, and it's an online program. So maybe doing that. So, but synchronous time is really going to be heavily focused in the morning, and we'll go through the schedules. But the asynchronous time is going to be focused with the classroom teacher in the morning time, and the asynchronous time for general classroom work will be in the afternoon. There will be some blocks of time as we look at the schedules in a bit where you'll see some students are going to have time to do asynchronous work in the mornings, and other students may have more time that will be synchronously with the teacher just because they have to be in different groups that they're with. In the afternoon, we will have specialists that will also be doing some live lessons like PE and science for our 2nd through 5th graders. And so those will be live lessons taking place, and they will be scheduled into your child's week, and your teacher will be letting you know exactly when those will take place. We also will be having counseling that will be taking place every other week. It's not like a therapy counseling. It's more of our counselor is providing social skills groups and just talking about social emotional learning. And that will be a whole class, at least during the first couple months of school. So a whole classroom will be getting together with a counselor every other week to do some social emotional lessons. Okay, before we jump into schedules, I just wanted to see if folks had any kind of general questions that either you have right now or you want to make sure that I cover. And if you're muted, you can just go ahead and unmute yourself. Yes.
Hi, I'm Mrs. McLean. This is Erica. So just wondering about for those students who are on an IEP, how those things will be handled in terms of when they'll be able to see a resource specialist, or how does that work?
Okay, so the way it'll work is really dependent upon each child's IEP and how the goals are written. So either the teacher or a paraprofessional may be pushing into a morning session. There may be also times when the teacher, the RSP teacher, or the paraprofessional may be pulling a child out. So it really depends upon each student and how their IEP is written. Last year, there were interim distance learning plans written, and we'll be updating those as we start the school year, just making sure that they're appropriate for our students moving into the next grade. So case carriers will be reaching out shortly so we can get all that information updated to you. But it'll be a push in and pull out. Some of it may be during a general ed instruction time, and some of it may be during the afternoon time.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Lambert?
Yes, so how is students who require help with their schoolwork during the day going to be handled? We have a two-parent working household. We can't monitor our child every moment of the day to make sure she's doing what she's doing, and frankly, she has problems with self-regulating her behavior and keeping on track with work. And I'm wondering if there's any additional support that the school is thinking about for this, because I know it's something our child struggled with a lot last spring.
Yeah, and so we're really going to work to push our paraprofessionals who are really direct supports for our students, making sure that they are able to provide additional time and support with instructional lessons during the day. And we will, again, your case carrier will reach out to work more closely and make sure that they are developing a plan with support that will address your child's needs more specifically. So we plan to do a lot better than we were able to do in an emergency situation, rolling things out last school year. So definitely, I hear you. It's hard. A lot of you are working families, and whether you have a special needs child or a gen ed student, being able to work and keep your child focused and engaged is difficult. So we'll stay in communication, but we'll be reaching out to you to also kind of get things up and rolling. Let me see. Another question. What is an IEP? Somebody asked what an IEP is. That's an individualized education plan, and those are for students once identified they are in special education. So that could be for speech. It might be just for extra support in the classroom. Or it could be being in a specialized classroom. So that's an IEP. Couple questions. When will we know the class assignments and which cohort A or B our students are in? The class assignments we are hoping to have early next week, Tuesday at the latest, definitely, hopefully by Monday. A lot of that has to do with we've been trying to finalize actually who's participating in CVVPE and who is remaining. And so as we've kind of finalizing those numbers, we've still had a few people adding or dropping out of those programs. We can then finalize our actual classes. We haven't organized A groups or B groups yet, and we will be reaching out to families as we get the school year started. And we will, I know there have been questions about providing some input regarding A or B groups, or AM, PM, and we will be communicating with families further as we are working on developing that. But right now, we're just going to focus on getting everybody assigned to a classroom, and then we'll do that. Question, are CVVPE families also registered at Jensen? Absolutely. So CVVPE families are Jensen families. It's kind of like having two schools as part of one school. So it's just there will be some things that will be delivered a little bit differently. So CVVPE families are opting in for the school year, and they are opting into that virtual program. And they will have a teacher dedicated to that program. Jensen Ranch students who have not signed up for CVVPE are part of the main option, and that means at some point we hope to be able to come back to actually in-school instruction with an AM/PM model, but everybody is still part of Jensen. The difference would be during the actual instructional day, CVVPE students are going to be doing CVPE activities, and Jensen students will be doing Jensen activities. So they're not really going to be exactly the same. And I'll have a chart in a moment just to kind of show you the similarities and the differences between them. But you are all Jensen families. We definitely want you to all be part of the PTA, because the PTA it's going to be focusing on providing outside of the academic school day events and activities for families to participate in. So that's open to all Jensen families, whether you're on the virtual academy or you're in the main option academy. Is School Mint the location for registration at Jensen Ranch so School Mint is actually registration for all of the school district, and that's where you're going to be uploading your actual registration documents. The pathway is actually just the mode in which learning is going to be taught. So those are two different things. So School Mint is, the name is bizarre. It doesn't have any connection to what it is, but School Mint is focused strictly on registering your child for school in August. And the Castro Valley Virtual Pathway is the learning pathway in which students will participate if they're doing CVVPE. Are students default enrolled in Jensen, or do we have to select? Yes, so you are default enrolled in Jensen unless you have selected the virtual pathway. Technically, the deadline for making your decision, opting in or out, was last Friday. I can give people, we have been given the okay to have the absolute deadline be like tonight. So if you have a change of mind one direction or the other, I need to know by tonight, because we have got to be able to finalize our class placements, and that can only happen once we are no longer making switches between the two programs. So you can switch if absolutely needed.
And if we don't tell you one way or another, we'll just be opted for the in-school one, right?
If you don't say anything, then my assumption is that you are signing up for Jensen Ranch main option. Yeah. When do you anticipate that all families will have their password for Mint? I believe they're coming out tonight. It was supposed to come out earlier today, but I think they were having some technical difficulties, so it looks like it was coming out this evening. So please keep an eye out. It should be coming out within the next 12 to 24 hours at very latest. We'll see. Yes.
Do you have any idea how many students are currently enrolled in the CVVPE program at Jensen? Like, would there be enough students to make up for one CVVPE class just for the Jensen family?
We have 44 students enrolled across all 6 grade levels. So no, it would not be enough to create a single class. It would be combination classes, and what we're looking at is possibly trying to merge with another school. And so it'd be 2 schools working together, hopefully sharing teachers from their school sites, and keeping our cohorts of students as closely together as possible, so that it's not 9 different schools of students all participating with one different teacher, that we would have maybe 2 schools of students with 1 teacher. But they will probably be combination classes. I have a message from Serge. Will Seesaw be the preferred method? I asked because we found it really good. Okay, yes. So we have things called learning management systems. Again, one of those new terms, probably should have put it on that list. So LMS, Learning Management System, and that is, most of you are going to be familiar with Google Classroom as a learning management system, which really is a way to push information out to students and collect work back. Push assignments out, push messages out, and then collect messages back in a controlled way. Google Classroom is used throughout our district and has been the primary learning management system we've used. However, we are seeing that it may not be as user-friendly for our primary kiddos, such as our kinders, first, and even second graders. So the district is going to be piloting Seesaw as a learning management system, which is a little bit more primary based friendly. And so teachers will have the opportunity to opt into that if they choose. Otherwise, we are encouraging them to use Google Classroom. So, but both of those will be allowed for this year. From Sally, just wanted to say thanks to all the teachers and support staff who've worked hard. We know it's not been easy. So thank you, we appreciate it. I just want to give a shout out to many of our teachers at Jensen. They were working throughout the summer, planning these amazing playlists, and that kind of gets to the question somebody asked, you know, how will this be different from last year? We have had grade level teams of teachers, TK through high school at every grade level, and they have been planning instructional lessons at the elementary level in reading, in writing, and in math. And then our specialists have been providing playlist lessons in science, in PE, in counseling. And so rather than last year, it was kind of everybody just did the best that they could. Some people were more familiar, more comfortable, and other people were less comfortable. Some teachers did synchronous instruction. There were a few teachers district-wide who were not as comfortable with synchronous instruction and who really just did asynchronous instruction. It is now required that synchronous instruction is required for all of our teachers to provide to our students. And so we're asking our teachers to use the playlists that have been developed. They are thorough. They are all based upon the agreed upon essential standards in reading and language arts. And they are really focused on providing engaging, meaningful, and user-friendly lessons. And that'll be much more standardized across the board within a grade level. As the year goes on, of course, teachers are going to have to make small adaptations and changes based upon the needs of their classroom. But as an overall, kind of when you're looking at what's happening and being rolled out content-wise, it's going to be a consistent curriculum for all the students and teachers, which is great. When will you know who your child's teacher is? Not till next week, and probably not until around Tuesday, Wednesday at the very latest. Yes, students are going to be assessed through the school year, so different than at the end of last school year. We weren't focusing on assessment. We were really in kind of an emergency mode. But now we really need to make sure, because we don't know how long this distance learning or virtual learning is going to take place. We do need to make sure that we are assessing our students and providing them instruction for where they're at and being able to continue moving them forward. So yes, students are going to be assessed. In fact, the first 7 days of school is really going to be focused on providing some pre-assessments and initial assessments to determine student needs so that the rest of the school year can be targeted to support students. We don't want to just jump in and making assumptions about where students are at. The teachers are going to really want to make sure they know. So they will be scheduling. There may be some assessments they will push out for students to work on independently. They may be something that they will schedule some virtual one-on-one time and synchronous assessments with your child to do. But one thing I want to encourage you to do is please, 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 when your child is going through an assessment, please allow that to be their work. I know we all want to help our child perform at their absolute best. And I know when your child is performing with somebody they've never met virtually, it's never going to be the same as if they were in the classroom and had a chance to kind of get to know each other. But please do your best to allow your child to do their work, because we really want to see that relationship building between the child and the teacher. And we want to make sure we're supporting the child with what we know they can do independently without being guided and supported by parents at home. So we'll work together on that part, but that'll be important. All Jensen families, yes, so that was PTA just reaching out that everybody is a part of the Jensen community and we all want you to be a part of that. Living in 2 households, will both emails on Aries be contacted about school information from their teachers? So it's a good idea, just because sometimes you may have a teacher who doesn't know your family. And so just at the beginning of the school year, that's a good thing if you are living in 2 households, that you reach out to the teacher and let them know what any specific family needs that you have regarding email communication. Also, if both families aren't getting, say, my newsletter or direct school communication that way, please reach out to me to make sure we're getting that information updated. So it won't automatically, teachers are going to reach out usually to the primary email address. So it's really good if you have a dual household, that you communicate just whatever works best for your family. Do we need to submit the physical exam report? No, I believe everything is now, it's going to be uploaded online through School Mint. I mean, you can actually just like, the great thing is you just take your phone and you just scan it and send it an upload directly to School Mint. So it's much more simple. We don't need the paper copies. Your digital copy is going to be just fine. When will a 2-step verification be sent out, and how do we know which teacher for our kids? So again, the 2-step, that's that School Mint process. It should have been coming out already today, but I know they had some difficulty with it. So just keep an eye out within the next 24 hours. And again, when will you know who your child's teacher is? Hopefully by next week, early next week. Yes, so we have 44 students currently enrolled. Will both parents in 2 separate houses have had 2 separate Mint accounts? No, the account is your child's account. So it is a family account, just like Aries Parent Portal. That is an account that is under your child's name. So you kind of need to be able to work together to manage those accounts and get that information uploaded and determine how that's gonna get done. And if you have a problem in that area and you need extra support, just contact or reach out to us and we'll help with that. Will there be a survey to fill out communication about the cohorts? Yes, so as we get moving and get everybody settled into the first weeks of distance learning, then we're gonna start working and planning on the hybrid model and what that will look like. So we will be sending out surveys and communication to families as we prepare for that. What are the proposed hours for the AM/PM model? That's still under negotiations with CVTA. That's our teachers union. Originally, it was between I believe 8 and 11, and then 12:30 and 3 or so. But again, once everything gets finalized with the teachers union, we will have those hours. But again, that won't be for probably quite a few weeks away, probably months away at this time. Do we have to opt in to get a Chromebook? Nope. I'm going to assume everybody's going to come and pick up a Chromebook, and I'm going to have the district will have you opt out. So there will be a form that they're getting together to opt out. So no, opting in is I'm just assuming you're going to want one, and I'm going to put you on the list. And it's for every student. So it's a 1-to-1 distribution of Chromebooks. Parent support groups. So yes, there will be parent support groups in different ways. So I know PTA is kind of working to figure out how they can best support families. And I know district-wide, we're also preparing some online instruction to provide support to families, just as far as how to navigate all of this new online, the online world that we are asking you to support your child in. And we know it's a big ask that we're asking. I will also be making myself available very regularly, especially in the beginning, having some just meetings, haven't quite scheduled those yet, but just to provide Q&A time, just getting help with things. And if you need help with registration, do reach out to our secretary and she can help with that. Can pick-up drop-off materials be scheduled before or after school instead of the middle of the day for essential workers? So right now we are, we probably will be scheduling for the Chromebook pickups. We may have some later in the day times. Our initial registration time is kind of during the middle of the day right now. But if you need to pick up a Chromebook or other materials, I always try to work with families and either meet people early in the day or later on the day to get things out. As far as with the teachers, they're going to be coordinating materials pickup after about the first 2 weeks of school for actual school supplies and things like that. So you won't need a lot of that during the first couple weeks of school. Okay. Are teachers required to be in the classroom during synchronous learning? No, teachers are, certificated staffing is not required to be on site. That's part of their contract. They can though, and some of them choose to be on campus because it's just a better Wi-Fi, is a better environment for them to teach from, but that is not required. However, obviously, once we move to the AM/PM model, everybody will be back on campus when it is safe to do so. If and when we switch to the hybrid model, would our students have to bring their Chromes back to school for classwork? So yes, so the Chromebooks being checked out are going to be one-to-one, so it's just going to be like a textbook for them. It is going to be theirs checked out to them. It's going to be for them to use at home, and it's going to be for them to use at school. So we're not going to be at this point planning on kind of housing those Chromebooks at school, because we want students to be able to do the work back and forth between home and school. And were we able to keep all the Jensen Ranch teachers in the hybrid model? We are likely going to have 2 of our Jensen teachers who will have to move into the other model, to CVVPE. Nothing has been determined just yet. Where they'll be for EL assessment this year. In fact, yes, they are actually doing initial assessments. They've started doing that at the district level. And they are actually doing in-person individual assessments where they're meeting with students at the district office. So they have begun. EL is for our English language learners. And so that is actually already started, I believe, for new to the district and TKs and kindergartners. So that is the last question on the group chat. Does anybody else have any other questions before we jump into schedules? All right, I'm going to move on to schedules, and we have opportunity at the end there to do a Q&A as well. So as you have other things that come up, let me know. All right, first to just kind of give you a visual about what our 2 options are, and I apologize, I'm just going to grab a quick drink of water. We have what's called the main option. And so if you're not selecting to do the virtual academy for the year-long program, you've automatically opted into the main option at Jensen Ranch, which would be that at some point when it becomes safe, we would be able to return back to campus. So the main option starts off with distance learning, and then it moves to when it's safe to do so. The metrics that we have for that is based upon the county. It's like 14 days of no new cases, but that is only the first layer of checks that we have to make. That only allows the district to then begin the process of reopening. We would not reopen our school district if they gave us the okay, we would not open the next day. We would go through a phased in approach of reopening, which would probably take at least 2 weeks of time. And it may not be all school sites or all grade levels opening at exactly the same time. So again, the main option is we're going to be distance learning away from the school campus. When it is safe to do so, we would then transition into returning to classroom for students to do part of their learning, and it would be an AM/PM model. Specialists support the classroom teachers by delivering instruction in their content areas. That again is going to be focused during the afternoon time, so that we have the science specialists delivering synchronous lessons, so live lessons to 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. For kindergarten and 1st grade, we'll have science content, but it will be asynchronous, so it'll be on their own to be able to do. Our PE teacher will be providing synchronous instruction to our students during the week. Our counselor will be providing synchronous instruction bi-weekly. Students who are participating in our response to intervention program, particularly at the tier 3, the upper level of need, that will also be in the afternoon time, or after about 11:30, between 11:30 and 3. The curriculum is CVUSD adopted curriculum. That is the primary source of learning. And again, as I mentioned, grade level teams across the district work together to create this curriculum, to create these learning playlists. There may be combination classes that occur, but that would only be between 2 grade levels. So we are already used to having combination classes. This year we were already slated for a K1 combo, a 2-3 combo, and a 4-5 combo. So we may continue to have that, just depending upon how our numbers end up flushing out once we get everybody settled in one of the 2 models. Students will have differentiated instruction, but will progress with the pace of their classmates. So the teacher is going to be delivering a classroom instruction just like they would in the regular classroom. There will be differentiated instruction to support students, kind of to meet them at their needs. And that will definitely take place more in the morning time when teachers, and as we look at the schedules, you'll see, there will be time when teachers are going to pull small groups of students to be able to work. It might be to just teach specific concepts. It might be to remediate an idea or something that students need to work on, but it will allow for targeted work for students to get the extra help that they need. And so looking at both of them, meeting in the middle, what do both of the programs have in common? Both programs, both the main option and CVVPE, will be taught by Castro Valley teachers. They will both be using the district live social emotional lessons. Those will all be taught. That will be the first part of the day. That'll be 8 to 8:20 every morning. And those are lessons to just build community, build social emotional awareness about peers and about themselves and others. And so those are all specifically designed lessons that will be available and that students will participate every morning, Monday through Friday from 8 to 8:20. Both programs will have synchronous and live interaction daily with their teachers. Both programs will have intervention as well as ELD support for our English language learners. Both programs are going to have asynchronous learning, so that means where they're working on their own. And the way that the asynchronous learning is designed in these playlists is set up so that there's a section to learn about a topic, an area for them to practice it, and then for them to demonstrate their learning. So that sort of assessment piece. And assessments can be formative, so kind of an informal assessment, or they may be more formal, like a module assessment in math. So both the main option and the CVVPE option, both are going to be learn about it, practice the work, and then demonstrate your understanding of the work. Both of the programs are going to have office hours, so the teachers and can meet with parents if you have individual questions, or you need to maybe have your teacher meet individually with your child to answer a question. There will be specified times for you to sign up for office hours. You're going to be, again, everybody's part of the Jensen Ranch home community. So just because CVVP is a virtual option for the year, we're still one school community, and our kids are all still, neighborhood friends and, outside organizations. We're still all one together. Both programs are going to have daily attendance. And again, both programs students are going to be held accountable with assessments and grading, and both programs will receive special education services. So what's different about CVVPE? So some of you have opted into this option. This is really a commitment for a full year of virtual learning. I know that, some families have asked, well, if I decide it's not working for me, can we opt back into Jensen and come back to our home school? Well, that is all going to be completely dependent upon whether there is space available. So if we have, let's just say in second grade, let's say we have all of our classrooms at 25 and one class at 24, and we have 3 second grade families who at the end of the trimester want to opt back into Jensen Ranch from the virtual academy, I only have 1 spot. I don't have 3 spots. So it's very important when you're considering the virtual academy that is a commitment for the year. And while we try to make accommodations for families to come back in, we can only do so if there is actually space at our site. Your child does not lose their spot in Jensen for the 21-22 school year. It is just you're making a choice as far as programming placement for this school year. let's see, the platform in which students are being taught, it's going to be taught against all the core content areas. So reading, writing, math, they will have access to science, all of that, but it will be taught, and it will be taught by CVUSD teachers. The difference is the platform is what's called the Edgenuity platform. And that is going to be the main curriculum with Castro Valley adopted curriculum as a supplement versus the main option where the Castro Valley curriculum is the primary content of information. Students from the 9 schools may be in the same class. We're really working to make sure that's not what happens. We are trying to, again, put schools in cohorts together so that we maybe have, Jensen and Palomares, or Jensen and some independent students together, so that you're not having a mixture of all kids all over the district mixed together in a classroom, which just makes it harder to form that community. And we want students who are from the same school to be able to still, even if they're in the virtual academy, still be able to be together for the year. Students from various grade levels may be in one class. Again, with the virtual academy, it's likely there'll be 2 grade levels in the academy classes, but we really don't want it to be anything more than that, just because that's not good for instruction. But it is likely that they will be kind of all combination classes, like a K1, a 2, 3, 4, 5, and such. Students will be pre-assessed through the Ingenuity program and then placed on personalized individual learning path. So it is different than the main option, again, where you're taking the general Castro Valley curriculum. We'll do pre-assessments, but again, we're focusing on again, providing district-wide instruction that's geared to our district curriculum. This is, the kids take an assessment, and the whole program it's virtual with some teacher check-in and synchronous learning time, but it is much more of an independent program. And so that's something just to keep in mind, that it is something that really requires a student to be able to work independently. There's a lot more online time with Ingenuity, but it is really tailored to the student. And so if the student needs more support, it'll provide that. And if the student is ready to move ahead, it will allow that as well. So before we jump into schedules, I wanted to provide an opportunity in case there's, I'm going to go back and look in the chat, but see if there's some questions people have regarding this. Somebody had a question just regarding the process guidelines when a COVID case has been reported for the school or for the classroom. Again, there are very specific guidelines and measures which the state has put in place as far as percentages. And I know the district is working on putting an FAQ and specific guidelines to kind of help people understand what those are. So once I have that information, I will be sharing that out. So, but there are, it's around specific numbers or percentages within a classroom or within a school that would trigger what would happen. Did I say the hybrid will only start after 14 days with no new cases? That would be in Alameda County. So we're just focused on our own county. And so Alameda County Health Department is the one who would give the okay to our district that we would be cleared to reopen. They're also the ones who tell us, well, we can't, we have to close. So they stay in communication. And again, it wouldn't be an automatic opening. If we are told we can, we would still have a transitional time. How was the decision reached to determine AM/PM model instead of the Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday like other districts? Ultimately, what was determined by the elementary planning team that took place at the end of the school year and early in June was that for elementary, the AM/PM model would provide the most in-person instructional time for students. And that was really the priority, is to make sure that there was basically a touch time every day where, you know, students who are learning how to read, learning basic math facts, all of those things which are so essential in elementary, that every day they would have contact with their teacher. And so that was the determination as to why the AM/PM model was selected for that. I know the AM/PM model does present many challenges for that. If you have your, can you just mute your mic? We'll just make sure, and then you can unmute if you have a question. Okay. If a child or teacher gets COVID, yes, there will be protocols in place regarding notification of if somebody has been identified and what the processes will be. I don't have those specifically. Those protocols will be given to us once we are starting to prepare for that return to school. Yes, the presentation is going to be available to everybody who was not available. It is being recorded as we speak. Do we have an estimate of how many JR students signed up for the all year? Yes, we have 44 students to date who have signed up for the virtual. If anybody wants to switch one direction or the other, I mean, I really would love to encourage people to do the main option. But I know for virtual, for some families, it is really the safest and the best option for you. But I would definitely encourage people to do the main option if you are still on the fence. You do have until the end of the night to let me know if you want to change your mind. Okay, we're going to jump into schedules. Okay. So this is taking a look at that very first 7 days of instruction. And yeah, if you guys can, again, if you can just go ahead and mute. We've got somebody who's probably cooking a very lovely dinner in the background. But we are not going to be able to enjoy it. So if you can mute your mics. Okay. All right. So this is a kind of the schedule of the very first 2 weeks of school, and August 13th through August 12th. So that's the first Thursday, Friday, and then the whole 5 days for that second week of school. And as you can see, we start off the day from 8 to 8:20 with synchronous time. So this is a whole class instruction, and SEL stands for social emotional learning, check-in and enrichment activity. So that is time where there will be actually already pre-designed lessons that the students, that the teacher will be leading the students in, morning check-in, and any specific directions that the teachers want to give to their class to kind of just get the students going. So again, that's at 8 o'clock, and I know we've been on away from the regular school day since March 13th. It's been a long time. And so if your children right now are in a super summer schedule of sleeping in till 10 or so, I would encourage you to now start working on building an earlier morning and having them up by 7:30 so they can get a good breakfast in place and they are ready to join their group at 8 a.m., ready to go. So again, so that 8 to 8:20 time is going to happen every day, Monday through Friday, so long as we are in distance learning. The next block of time that will run essentially from 8:20 in the morning till about noon. This is going to be, especially during this is during the first 7 days. This is going to be really varied by teacher to teacher. They're going to have time where they're going to want to do some whole class activities for community building, kind of like they normally would do during the first few days of school, communicating expectations, and just getting to know you activities. There's also going to be time where there's going to be they're going to have giving assignments out that'll be asynchronous around digital citizenship and just basic netiquette. So being online etiquette, how we want students to be learning, and just other learning activities that would be done. If you kind of look down towards the afternoon, but this could really be happening at any time during the day, is the teacher's going to be scheduling appointments either in small groups or individually. As far as doing some assessments. So the teacher is going to want to be building time to get to know your child, and they'll be doing, it could be small group or individual assessments. So the teacher will be putting that schedule together and determining what that looks like. So your child you have children in different grade levels, and so that schedule may look a little bit different, but your teacher will communicate to you what that schedule will look like for those first 7 days, and which periods of time will be synchronous time with the teacher and what periods of time are going to be asynchronous. But during the first 7 days, there's definitely more asynchronous time built in, just because the teacher is really focusing on trying to get those pre-assessments done and get everybody kind of up and running. Yeah, so again, the teacher will create the schedule, and this will be communicated to you by next Wednesday. And again, students will meet one-on-one and in small groups to build relationships and just learn the strategies and tools so they can be successful. Next off, if you are participating in just the main Jensen Ranch option, this is what the general distance learning schedule is going to look like. So again, just like in those first 7 days, we start off in the morning, Monday through Friday, from 8 to 8:20 with that live social emotional check-in, enrichment activities, and directions for the day. And that is whole group. So we want all the students in the class joining in at that time in the morning. On Friday, you'll notice that time is even a little bit longer. It's 50 minutes long, and that really will allow the teacher to do more specialized activities centered around their students and not just the social emotional playlists. So Friday is a little bit longer. Then when we get into the regular schedule, we have a block of time that goes from 8:20 till 11 a.m. And that is, during that block of time, there will be synchronous, and the teacher is going to be providing synchronous instruction to the whole group or to small groups. So if you kind of look in the blue section, it says during this time, teachers will organize their class into full groups and or small groups to ensure students are mastering their essential skills. So I just want to make sure there's no misconception that between 8 and 11, your students are not going to be synchronous or doing live instruction 100% of the time. There are going to be blocks of time, and I'll kind of be able to explain that to you, where your child will have some asynchronous time where they may not be meeting with the teacher in the morning. It'll be completely dependent upon what the student's needs are and how the teacher divides up the group. If you look at Friday in the morning, we also have intervention time that will be set up by the teacher, and there will also be specific office hours. And again, teachers will let you know how those can be scheduled. So teachers aren't going to obviously have the same time to kind of just pop in and answer questions. We just ask that you do your best to kind of respect and schedule those office hour times to check in with them. If you look to the time then from, I don't want to miss it. We do have a block of time, a half an hour built in for designated English language learner support. And that is Monday through Friday. And so depending on the level of your child, if they are an EL student, they will be receiving targeted support during this time. And the teachers are going to be working to determine what this is going to look like so that it can be consistent across their grade level for support. When we move into the second, the below column, where the asynchronous activities and synchronous time for specialists, that time really starts at 11 a.m. till 3 p.m. And so if you're in this main option in the afternoon, you'd have specialists who will be providing live lessons and activities. And so the number of lessons is based upon age. So you can see the breakdown here. So PE is offered 1st through 5th grade. That's not a change from our regular program. If we were in session, kindergarten is not a grade level that is offered PE, even during a regular year. There will be 2 20-minute sessions a week. So this is a big divergence from what we normally have. PE usually is a mandatory 100 minutes a week, but the state has lifted that regulation. And so there are now 2 20-minute sessions of PE, and Mrs. Galloway, our PE teacher, will be leading those lessons for our students. We will also have science, as I mentioned, from 2nd through 5th grade. There will be 1 20-minute session each week, and those will be delivered 2nd through 3rd grade by Mr. Reynez, and for 4th and 5th graders, it will be with Miss Foy-Couche. Let's see, our social emotional anti-bias contains history and art lessons. That will be delivered by our school social worker counselor, and that will be for all grades here at Jensen, kindergarten through 5th grade, and it'll be 1 20-minute session every other week. And then we also will have time with our RTI aides and RTI specialists, as well as RSP special ed teachers, and those times will be determined by the student need and what their plan states. Within this flexible time, students are also going to have time to just work asynchronously to review using their playlists for their week and reviewing concepts. There are going to be videos to watch that are going to kind of run them through expectations and do pre-teaching activities. They're going to have opportunities to practice in math, reading, and writing. And then there's going to be other learning activities that our specialists are going to provide. And plus there'll be kind of a built-in time where students are specified to participate in outside activities for 40 to 60 minutes a day, get out, play some basketball, do things like that, and a break for lunch. So the day will be the schedule will be designated, and the teachers will help to roll out what that schedule will look like. Let me take a look at questions before I move on to the next one. We'll take a look at the CVVPE schedule. They are similar, but a little bit different. Question, since my child will be assigned a Chromebook, how can they get it from school? I will be doing a checkout time next Wednesday. So please make sure you check the the Roundup from Sunday night, from last night, for information on the checkout and what time your family should be coming. It's based upon your child's last name. Yes, windows determined by last name. Thank you so much. What is the program you're using for social emotional learning? So we have Second Step as our district program, but we also have specially designed lessons also that have been designed by our district coordinators and teachers and counselors in the district over the summer. So they created their own created their own curriculum as well. And they are still finalizing that. And as soon as I have more information, I will roll that information out to you as well so that you have more details. Do kinders get PE and science? They don't get the PE. Science instruction, they will get asynchronous science activities. Yes, Oren Jaffe, he's one of our awesome parents here, and he's working to get music for our pre-recorded lessons, and that would be supported through our PTA. We did, Castro Valley School of Music provided in school during the day lessons for us last year. And we are looking to have them continue, but it would be something that would be pre-recorded so that you can do that during an asynchronous time or at another time that worked for your family. Good question, Mr. Lambert. How do two parents working keep their kids on a schedule? And again, one of the things, again, we use the Google Suite. We really are going to be wanting to help teach especially our upper grade students, how to use the Google Calendar. The meetings are going to be pushed out through the calendar, especially for the upper grades, and it'll really help our students if they can start to use that to learn to manage their time, especially as we have fifth graders and they're going to be moving to sixth grade after this year. We need to help them begin learning how to manage some of their time. So that will be part of the teachers and support staff to help train everybody in doing that better this year. And I'm not going to say it's going to run perfectly as we get out the gate, but that's the goal, is that we'll just continue working on and improving our students' skill sets to help them stay on track and be more responsible for their learning. I mentioned supply kits. We are new to the school. The supply kits were ordered. They are ordered at the end of the school year. I will be sending out recommended supply lists that families, if you want to purchase, we will be pushing out some materials, but we're trying to finalize those lists with the teachers with the changes that we're going to be virtual instruction. So in next Friday or in this next weekend's Roundup, you will have a list of a recommended school supply list that if you want to purchase some school supplies to kind of keep things going for your students, we'll make that available next week. How often will the 8 to 20 11A schedule be sent? Every week. So every week the teacher will be pushing out a new playlist, and within that playlist it will have any things that are specific for your child. The afternoon times are really not going to change. So those specialist times are going to be set during our distance learning times. Making sure they switch, to every 20 to 45 minutes. It's going to be difficult. We're going to be working to keep helping our students to learn to become more responsible. And again, if they have somebody who's working directly with them, helping to monitor that. Yes, I think I did explain that teachers are not going to be sitting in front of a computer from 8 to 11. We definitely the teachers are trying to build in other activities, reading and things like that. So having your student expecting that they'll be in front of a computer to 8 to 11 is not good or smart for them. And also know that the asynchronous activities that your child has, if it works better for you to do those at other times when you can be available to sit down, then that is totally okay. So if it works better for your child to sit down and work on 20 minutes of asynchronous math work in the evening when you can sit down and help them, that's good. The main thing is we just want them to definitely be involved during their synchronous time because that's when they're getting their support from their teachers and their specialists. So that's going to be the most important, is that they meet those meeting times. The asynchronous work, work with your family around what works best for you. Will we be having extra activities for the 5th graders? As we kind of go through the year, we'll really have to determine what we can and can't do. Right now we're limited to a virtual world, so anything that we do will be virtual, and we'll be we haven't really talked about extras at this point in time, but I know that we're going to do our best to make sure that this is a special and memorable year for not only our 5th graders, but for all of our students, however we have to do it. If we have to do it virtually all year long, or hopefully if we're able to come back together. Once the specialists set their times for the classes, that will be consistent for the rest of the learning. It will definitely be consistent for the rest of the time while they are doing virtual away from school. Once we come back onto campus, there may be some students who is having an opportunity where they can meet with their specialists while they're on site during their AM or their PM time. So some of that may be adjusting, but while the specialist time will be consistent during the virtual away from school time. How is the school district supporting families who may not have enough internet connection? So there will be, I will be sending out something so that if you need a MiFi, they will have enough MiFis for people to get those. So that will be something I'll be asking you along with the opt-out, is if you would need a MiFi. So that will be coming up, and to sign up for the Chromebooks. PE science times, they stay the same and not change on day-to-day. Yeah, so those will be a preset schedule because those specialists are often delivering synchronous lessons with other schools. And so we have to have those as be set as set schedules. Okay, I think that takes us to our end there. Let's move on. We're going to take a look at this kind of gives you a picture of looking at what a student's schedule might be. So Affy, she's a 1st grader. We're going to take a look at her schedule. She starts her day off in the morning with 20 minutes of social emotional learning, the check-in and directions from her teacher. And then she continues on for another 30 minutes. Her teacher has assigned her to work on a small group, and they're going to be working on English language arts and or math. And they're going to be reviewing, teaching, and doing some intervention. Then for the next 60 minutes, Affy has asynchronous activities where she can work on her reading, her writing, or her math. And then she's going to have a block of time which will be scheduled for her to work with possibly an intervention with an RTI aid. And then Affy is also an English language learner, so she has that time at the end of the morning where she is going to participate from until that last 30 minutes during her as ELD lesson. As we move into the afternoon, she then has, because she's a 1st grader, she is not participating in a synchronous, meaning live science lesson. She has an asynchronous science lesson that she can take part in. She will have a PE class because 1st through 5th grade will have PE. And so she will have a scheduled PE time with Mrs. Galloway. And then she has the remainder of her day to work on asynchronous activities. So kind of watching videos or completing assignments and activities. And again, those asynchronous times, lessons, those can be pushed to other times that work for your family. You know, if your child needs a break and they need to get up, walk around, you need to take a family walk, whatever it may be, you can push some of those asynchronous times off to other times during the day or even the weekend if that works better for you. So you'll just need to keep in mind when due dates are for assignments. Looking to the right, we're looking at Sherry. She is a 5th grader. Looking at her schedule, she also starts off her day at 8 o'clock for the social emotional check-in and enrichment. And then she participates in a 40-minute full group ELA and math, so her whole class. So that's the whole classroom is participating either a math or an ELA lesson. She then has an hour of asynchronous activities, either reading, writing, or math, and she will have small group intervention time for 20 minutes. She is not an EL student, so that last block of time where Affie had ELD, Sherry does not have to do that, and so she has that time set aside for asynchronous work, so any playlist work that she wants to be doing. She is a 5th grader, so she is having math or her science lesson with Miss Foy-Kush, and that will be 30 minutes. That she then also gets extra support from our RTI specialist, and so that will be 30 minutes. And Sherry is going to then this week be having a live anti-bias lesson with our counselor, Miss Lee, and that will be a whole grade level, or I should say, with her entire class. And then she's got the last 20 minutes of her day until 3 o'clock, where she will have asynchronous activities to work on. So again, that kind of gives you a picture of what a student schedule would look like. I next want to kind of take a look at the alternative options. So these are for families and students who are participating in CVVPE. If you look and you start off the day, it also starts off with a social emotional learning for 20 minutes. It then moves into Monday through Thursday, small group intervention and progress monitoring. So this is live teacher check-in. And this is, again, not for the whole class, but this will be for small groups. Next, if it's applicable to the student, they would participate in designated EL support time. Again, this is live instruction with the teacher. And the teacher will also have office hours to meet with parents by appointment. In the afternoon, the schedule is flexible. This is to do the asynchronous work. So this is the independent work on the Edgenuity platform for language arts and for math, social studies, and for science. And the teacher is likely to assign other asynchronous work to do. So other just class-related projects, work adjustments based upon feedback on how the student is doing, independent reading, journal entries, and PE activities, and then building in PE and lunchtime. If you look at Friday, again, we have the 50 minutes of social emotional time. So again, that's consistent with what is happening from the main option and CVVPE. They, again, have the small group intervention progress monitoring time, and then they have the designated EL time and office hours. So what you'll notice is that in the CVVP model, there is no whole class instruction because you are gonna possibly have a couple of different grade levels that may be in these groups. So the instruction is not whole class, except for when you're talking about some of the specialist activities. It is really just all around small group work. So that is the primary difference, is that you're not having those synchronous lessons pushed out with our PE specialists or with our science specialists. Those will all be done through the Ingenuity platform. Okay, so that kind of takes us through our schedules. Let me go back and take a look at the chat and see if anybody else has other questions. I do want to honor our time today as much as possible. And Okay, we talked about good connections. Packets and worksheets. We're going to do a lot more of the work is going to be online work, even fillable worksheets and things like that. So there will be some materials pickup, but it won't be, if you were here last year, there will not be the same level of kind of pickup of that materials as we did last year. And again, a few of you have messaged me privately, so if we need to talk more offline, please don't hesitate we can reach out and communicate with each other about any specific needs you might personally have for your family. So again, as far as students being online with the asynchronous time, it's really just kind of building it into what a school day would be, but please work with your family to determine what is going to be best. It is not going to be the best for every student to sit there during that time and working on something on the computer. So have them take breaks and kind of build it in so that it works best for your student and your family. You know what? A question regarding Edgenuity. I am not very familiar with Edgenuity. I am just going to begin learning about it. So I wish I could tell you more specifically about what you'll be able to see real time as far as student progress. I don't have that information, but I will see what information I can get around that. So again, I apologize. They have not provided us training yet on that program specifically. So. Please clarify the difference between individual activity and asynchronous activity. So, well, an individual, they really, I guess, could be kind of the same thing. Asynchronous is anything that is done independently. It's not live with the teacher. And so that would be really done on their own, so individual. And again, synchronous would be something that you'd be doing live instruction with a teacher or a specialist or a paraprofessional. Yeah, so I hope that helps. The synchronous is live time with a school professional, and asynchronous is independent work. How we know when our students are in synchronous schedule or okay. Yeah, so the teachers will be pushing out more specifically what those synchronous and asynchronous schedules are going to look like for their classroom. So again, we're still working to build the afternoon specialist schedules, and then the teachers, once they actually know what grade levels they're teaching, because some teachers are going to have to shift grade levels and get all that sorted out, and get to know their students, they will begin determining you know, if there's small groups that your child needs to participate at certain times, what's going to be whole group instruction time. But you will be getting all that information as things begin to roll out during those first 2 weeks. Other questions that people might have?
Yes, Ms. McLean. So you said that tonight it would be the absolute deadline to switch back or make last minute.
Yes, yeah. If you're switching one direction or the other, we just got to know, because I normally at this time of year know who my teachers are and know what their classes, you know, I'm able to build my classes. And because there's still movement happening, I can't do any of that. And that determines number of sections, which determines the specialist times that I'm assigning to people. So yeah, tonight I really need to know at latest, like 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, just because I've got to get my numbers in, and then I need to be able to make determinations with my staff about, you know, where our teachers are going to be teaching, so that we can really begin to prepare for our year.
Thank you. And I wanted to thank you so much for taking the time to explain everything to us. Is really valuable information. I'm sure other parents are struggling as us, but this is really great information and reassurance. So can we just email you and Mrs. Disher?
Yes, if you have if anything that comes up, please don't hesitate to reach out to me and Mrs. Disher right now. If you have questions, especially regarding School Mint or the registration process, Mrs. Disher's the one to reach out to. If you have specific questions regarding either the main option program or CVVPE or around asynchronous work or specialist support or whatever that may be, please contact me directly. And our teachers are not back yet, so sometimes you're asking questions that your child might be have a case carrier or a specialist working with them, and they're not officially back until next week. And so I may not be able to get you all the answers that you have right away, just because some of the people with that information may not be here and working yet. But we'll get as much to you as quickly as we can. And I really appreciate all of you coming and joining this evening, and I will work to PTA to figure out how we can open up our Zoom meetings so that they can be larger for all of us. I do want to make sure that when we have important information that everybody can hear it firsthand and they don't have to hear a video presentation, because I know that's kind of boring to, to sit and listen to. But again, I will send out this link to everybody. I'll also post it in the calendar so people can go back into our calendar and get that. So just kind of a plug reminder, please make sure you are checking our school newsletter, the Jensen Ranch Roundup every week. There is really valuable information in there. I also try to make it informative and engaging. If you have important topics or things that you'd like to have covered, I always, appreciate having parents' feedback and getting information from you. We will be, the board recognizes certain, groups during the year, and we want to continue to be able to celebrate our school community as we move through the year in virtual ways. So I know PT and I will be reaching out to families to just kind of figure out how we can keep our school year as fun and engaging for our full community, just in a virtual way. So I've got a few ideas. You might also have some really cool ideas as well. And so we'll just work together just to make sure that it's an enriching year, that even though things will be done virtually, providing enough variety to make it exciting and fun and special for everybody. There was a question about siblings, and yes, we'll be working with families to keep siblings together in either the AM or PM group, and just looking at preferences as best as we can, knowing that we can't necessarily put everybody where they exactly want to be, but we will do our best. And we don't know exactly the number of teachers who will be teaching in the hybrid or virtual only, but it looks like we'll probably have 2 teachers moving to the virtual program from Jensen. And again, I want to thank all of you. Just last, if there's any questions anybody has. We have one new. Yep, don't forget to sign up for the PTA. Our PTA is so super awesome, and they do such amazing things for our students and for our teachers. And even though we're going virtual, they are still trying to figure out ways to make sure that they are providing, really relevant programming for our students and providing support and supplies for our teachers. So again, go back into the Roundup, our newsletter that came out last night. And if you look down in the PTA section, there's all sorts of information on how you can sign up. They are even doing virtual, so you can go online and sign up that way. So we're trying to make it as easy as possible. So again, thank you everybody so much. And all that information regarding cohorts and all that will come out later once we get started with the year. Again, we are not quite in a spot yet where we're going to be moving towards returning back to in-school sessions. So first we're just going to be getting things designed and set up here at school, and then we'll be working to create our groups so that you can plan accordingly as well when we get to that point. All right. Thank you, everybody. We'll look to be scheduling another one of these. I'll try to keep it as informative as possible, not take up too much of your time, and I'll work with PTA to see if we can get some of these our numbers boosted up so that we can get more folks on here. So again, thank you for joining us. I know some of you have been cooking dinner, so we'll be over right away to enjoy. So thank you. Thanks, everybody. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.